and he was training. Came back, got an injury, came back. You know how that works. You keep coming back. So he's been training forever. He was a 4-stripe blue belt, I believe, and he was out of nowhere. He was promoted to purple by his instructor.
Out of nowhere. Oh.
Well, that's the way he framed it. By his instructor, who is a black belt. One of the assistant instructors is a blue belt.
Okay.
And while he says he does really well with all the other blue belts, the assistant instructor that's a blue belt chokes him all the time. So he feels undeserving of this purple belt.
Okay.
So I think what he's wondering is, what are your thoughts on that, on dealing with, and it's going to go well into the next topic about belt promotions. Is it a common thing to feel like you shouldn't have a belt because there's someone there that's a lower belt than you that can choke you pretty easily?
Well, I mean, it depends, man. It's like if literally well, that's not true. I was going to say it depends, but you really have to look at it. Is it a potential belt or is it a performance belt? And I know that sounds like a fucking horrifyingly bad thing to say, but the truth is some people get belts because that is their potential, and some people get belts because that's their performance.
Right.
Like, if you're a fucking 19-year-old healthy kid, you should be getting your blue belt because it's very difficult for other blue belts to whoop your ass. You know what I mean? Like, you handle white belts, blue belts have a hard time, you're hanging with blues, therefore, you know what I mean? Like, it should be like, there should be whatever your technical criteria is, plus you should be able to hang, you know? But I've also, like, I knew a guy that started jiu-jitsu when he was 50-something. There's no way. Like, that guy could train for the next 30 years, and he's just like a 20-year-old kid with high school wrestling.
Yeah, his athleticism.
That's a mediocre, beginner level blue belt. Like, he's gonna whoop that guy's ass. So then, what are you saying? Like, that dude literally can't ever get promoted in his entire life in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that you have to decide what you're doing with that person. Are they getting a belt based on what their greatest potential is at this belt level? Or are they getting a belt based on what their performance parameters are? And then once you've decided that, then it's like, like one white belt that has your number is not the end of the world. One belt, like one dude, like there's just this one guy and just the way he rolls and the moves that he does and all that kind of shit. Just, God damn it, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if it's literally every single person, then we have a problem. You know what I mean? But you shouldn't trip out about one dude that gives you a hard time that's a lower belt than you, because again, like, everything's about styles and how things mesh together. So his one move that he's really good at could be the one move that you're like fucking horrible at playing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I don't think that's a valid, like, you shouldn't get it. Judo's interesting, man. Judo has or did at least 15 years ago when I was in it. Judo had a really interesting way to promote. They had like these points, and you got a little pass book, and you kept track of your points. It was like a Boy Scout thing. Like, you get a certain amount of points, you get a fucking, advancement or whatever. Yep. But they had different points for different stuff. So like, if you beat somebody of your belt level, you got this many points. If you beat somebody of a belt level higher than you, you got more points. If you beat somebody lower ranked than you, it didn't matter, because they didn't do tournaments by division. You just go in the fucking tournament, right? So then it's like, what are you doing?
Sorry, I'm not trying.
What's happening?
I got that friggin', I think it's my C4, C5 disc. It's really fucking acting up, so my whole shoulder just fucking burning. Like, it's starting to make me sweat. So sitting down at work, it's worse. Sorry.
I wish we could get a reaction shot of Haskell.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, I just know he stood up and started doing slow hip thrusts.
It's ergonomic. I wasn't exactly sure. My doctor gave me a note for a stand-up workstation.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
The podcast.
But anyway, so then they give like a certain amount of points, and you get more points for competitive stuff, but you do get points for teaching classes. You get points for working a desk at a tournament. You get points for reffing a tournament. Yeah. So then, like, it takes substantially longer if you don't compete, but you can totally gather your points based on your knowledge and participation in the art. Which is kind of cool. But then again, like, so there's definitely a, which kind of belt did you get? Did you get the I worked the desk at 42 tournaments belt, or did you get the I won 3 tournaments belt? You know what I mean? Because they're different potentials, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, I think it's important not to. Jiu-jitsu for me is about how do you apply the knowledge that you have? Because like I said before, there have been guys that have smashed the shit out of me that I still wouldn't give a blue belt. because it's blue belts aren't.
Big,
You can whoop my ass.
wrestling dudes.
Yeah, I mean guys with previous experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like back in the day when Mike was here, Mike Brown. Fuck man, right when I met him, he tapped me more than almost anybody I'd ever trained with up until that point.
Right.
But it was the same.
Submission.
It was the same couple of. He had like this really codified game that he played, and it was really fucking hard to beat, intensely hard to beat. But I wouldn't give him a blue belt because it's like, I'm not saying you're the master of these 4 moves. When I give somebody a blue belt, I'm saying you know the totality of this level of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And he didn't. If you were like, show me how to do this technique, he'd go, I don't know what you're talking about. Like that's not on my.
Yeah.
That's not on my. That's not on my whatever you call it, like checklist or.
Plan,
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's not on my protocol. That's not on my fucking to-do list, man. It's not there, you know.
Yeah, that's an extra frill.
So then, you know what I mean? But that's not to say people had a hard time with it because they're like, if he's fucking so badass, why don't you give him a black belt? I'm like, because he doesn't know the totality of jiu-jitsu. You know, the point is it's a rank in the art, not a ranking of competitive standing.
Yeah.
The problem is there is an element of that for sure.
It's multifaceted. Yeah.
And again, it depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it like strictly an understanding of the art, a dedication to the art, then it's got nothing to do with it, right? I got you big time. But if you're looking at it like a competitive thing, like I mean, if there's this one white belt in the room and he's a young, healthy kid, and there's no reason that he should be performing badly, like he's not developmentally challenged and he's not, you know what I mean? Like he's there. Then he shouldn't be getting his ass whipped by every single person in the room. It's going to be difficult for me to go, yeah, you're a blue belt. But if there's like a reason that his potential is possibly lower than other people's, then maybe he gets promoted to blue belt and he can't whip everybody in the room's ass. Maybe he's 75 years old when he started jiu-jitsu and it's just unfucking realistic to ask him to whip every 20-year-old white belt's ass. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like there are circumstances that would make me switch from a performance base to a potential base. Yeah. So then, I mean, the guy's got to decide which one did he get. Is there a difference in his gym?
It's not necessarily one or the other either. It's varying degrees of performance also, right?
It depends.
Could
It depends on who the instructor is and who they're talking about. You know what I mean?
So in the end, I think.
But I mean, if he's got a performance-based belt and there's still just one fucking random dude that whips his ass, like, don't be sad about it. Don't throw your belt back at your instructor. You know what I mean? Like, go fucking train with the guy until he stops whooping your ass.
There's a number of guys that, well, not a number, but like you said, there's always gonna be a couple. If your gym's big enough, there's always gonna be a couple of guys that can shut your game right down, and it happens. And you can't. You should. Those are the guys that you should roll with, because if you roll with those guys, like you said, they're going to show you a weakness that you can't hide from, that everybody else is letting you hide from, because that's how you get better. So when I'm on the mat and I see someone that, even if they're a lower belt, that just gives me trouble because I know they have that game, I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's try to figure it out this time. And then to add on to that, you got to trust in what your instructor is doing. I think, it's kind of disrespectful to be like, I don't know. I don't think I deserve this, because, like you said, they're seeing things that you don't see, and everybody's so close-minded about things. There are some days when I come off the mat, and I'm just like, man, I need to work on some stuff, and someone's like, holy shit, what are you doing from there? And, it's your perception versus the collective perception, or the perception of the instructor. You're doing stuff that you're just taking for granted, that people are like, wow. You don't even know you're doing it anymore. You're just doing it.
Stop paying attention. Okay. Several sentences.
All right, so is everybody else. So anyway, it's rare that you ever actually feel, in my opinion, and other people can chime in, when you first get a belt, you feel, wow, am I really a purple belt, or am I really a blue belt, or am I really a brown belt? But you just got to go with it, and you got to grow with it.
I can't believe that, Ron. Listen to this fucking guy.
I didn't do it.
Got to go with it and grow with it. Fucking after school special over here.
So
I was going to tell you about, it sounds like I'm shitting on you, but what I was actually thinking about, instead of what you were just talking about, was the fact that podcast that you put up the other day was pretty fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was fucking cool. Like you put it up and I was like, I literally didn't remember doing it. And then, like, hearing you talk and you're like, this was the day that we figured out we had to get this guy a podcast or whatever. Like, that was rad. Like, honestly, that was like moving a little bit. That was
cool.
pretty fucking cool. That was really cool. That's what I was thinking about while you were just talking. So in a way, it's a little bit like fuck you, I'm not paying attention. But in another way, I was thinking about you. So that's different.
If you haven't listened to the podcast before this one, it's a historical podcast. There's that boom bass going right there.
Bass on the springs on your fucking microphone.
That was a podcast. If you want to go back and listen to it, a lot of people listen to it. It's almost been listened to as much as a normal podcast, even though Haskell promoted it as like, well, this is kind of shit. I had nothing to do with it.
Are you like not allowed to talk since you're holding the fucking camera?
Yeah, he doesn't want to.
No, I just didn't have the fucking
Jesus
time last
Christ.
week.
Oh,
Easy on the mic.
settle down there. Settle down. Loud titties over there. You know, we're not gonna talk about politics, but I will say this one thing. Somebody actually, I found out about this. Somebody actually wrote in my name, like no joke. Like Haskell put the J-Jack Cecil Haney. They put in me and Cecil on their fucking on whatever you call it, their ballot or
I
whatever.
think we've talked about this before, but you should friend Cecil on Facebook just to read the posts that he's posted the last
He's
few years.
amazing.
If you're not friends with Cecil on Facebook, you're missing out.
And then try and figure out what he's saying.
You're
He does these
tremendously
amazing
missing out.
things too, where he'll take pictures of people, and it's the worst fucking possible picture of that person you could ever imagine. Like, it just paints them. You know how you get like a picture, like, whoa, what the fuck's going on with that? Like the lighting or the perspective's off, and they just look fucking horrible. He doesn't do it all the time, but he'll take a picture of people like at the gym training, and they're just fucking distorted and all fucked up, and he'll post something nice like, really getting after it today, and it's like, dude. There's one I gotta show you.
I think that's called rolling. I don't.
haven't
Maybe.
noticed-
No,
this
it's not
at
even
all.
that. It's like normal shit.
I haven't noticed that at all. All I ever see,
I'll show you one later. I don't
he
wanna-
just posts pictures of like half naked girls, and says like the worst shit in the world,
Yeah.
and then
No
gets
punctuation.
mad and goes on like some rant that usually has "fuck your mother" in the throat in it at some point, with no punctuation, no capitalization.
He could write a novel without any.
It'd be
any
amazing
periods
if he
or-
wrote a book.
Yeah.
Would be amazing
It's
if he
funny.
just journaled his thoughts
I think
for a solid year. I would purchase that book.
I think someone finally got to him because he's been using commas but incorrectly. So it's like he's playing with them though,
He shouldn't be able to. He shouldn't change anything. He's perfect.
Yeah, don't Cecil.
That
if you listen to this,
motherfucker's
don't
perfect.
Change it.
Don't
It's
change
awesome.
shit. You're perfect, bro.
Like it's very amusing. I like to not read his stuff and then go wait a month and then it's almost like binge watching. Save it up and then look at his posts.
Dude, that guy's one of literally in my head. He's literally one of the perfect people.
Yeah, he's
To me,
he's gone through.
he's fucking
Had his
awesome.
rough spot in his life,
He's
learned from
awesome.
it, moved on.
He's awesome. If everybody
own
was like
thing.
that, I'd be fucking perfectly happy with the world.
Yeah, imparting his
Awesome.
learning into his son.
Fucking great guy, great dad. You know what I mean? His kid's fucking solid.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Fucking rad dude, and super cool human being.
So
And
if
you
you
could
wanna
call that
follow Cecil on
motherfucker and go, dude, it's bad. I need your help. Let's go do whatever. And he'd be like, okay, no problem. He would do it. You know what I mean? He's in. It's fucking amazing.
I always describe him to people as that guy in the movie The Town, where he's like, we're gonna go somewhere and hurt somebody, and you can't ask any questions, and the guy goes, my truck or yours.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh, you might actually like that movie.
Yeah, sweet.
Sounds like it's one of your kind of movies.
Sweet.
Were we gonna touch on the self-promotion thing today, or should we wait till next?
Well, the guy said he would come on. Just now, I just got his contact information.
Not
5
the
minutes
actual
ago.
guy, but the
No,
instructor.
the instructor. The dude that gave him his fucking purple belt.
So,
Before he gave himself his brown belt.
Backstory: there's a very popular video of a guy very confidently giving himself a brown belt.
Confidently.
Arrogantly. Does that
Yeah,
be a better
arrogant.
word?
Arrogant's a
Arrogantly
much
giving
better
himself
word.
a brown belt and explaining why to his students. And this was filmed, and I'm sure if you follow jiu-jitsu, you've seen it. If you haven't, you can check it out. I'm sure if you just
I also
YouTube
put it up on the page today.
brown belt self-promotion. Oh, it's on the page.
Yeah.
So Jay actually has a connection where we might be talking to the instructor next week of the one that gave him up
The guy,
to.
the guy that gave him his purple belt. Or
Right.
at least that's what the photograph looked like, So
Okay.
we'll see. But I met the dude, the Brazilian instructor. He went on this little tirade about Brazilian fucking, what do you call it, priesthood?
Yeah, the Brazilian priesthood.
Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, that guy is just such a phenomenal douchebag. You know what I mean? Like, the guy that promoted himself is just such a twat.
What if he's been studying the online BJJ project?
Well, look, he's still a twat. Like, twats have access to fucking computer screens, and you know what I mean? Like,
They do.
just because you logged onto a fucking website doesn't make you a good dude. You know what I
I
mean?
couldn't imagine doing that.
What a fucking
I
twat.
couldn't imagine doing
I just don't understand.
Here we're talking about someone who's like, I don't know if I deserve this. It was given to me by a black belt who doesn't even want it, like having a hard time accepting that. And then the extreme opposite of a dude sitting down and not even like going about it like,
His
oh yeah, I
lo-
got my brown belt.
His logical bullshit is the thing that drives me the most nuts about it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no man should ever give another man a promotion, right? But you're going to give yourself a belt. When I say you're ready for your belt,
Yeah.
you're going to give it to yourself.
And of course he's giving students.
Well, how do I know when it's time for it? I'll let you know when it's time for it. I'll tell you when it's time. Like, he still wouldn't want a thing where the guy walks in one day wearing a purple belt for no reason. Like, didn't talk to anybody. John, what are you doing with the purple belt on? Just fucking thought it was time, bro. Like, he still wants to have the thing where he goes, I will hand you the belt to signify that you're ready, and then you will put it on yourself. I'm like, how the fuck is that different? Like, is your issue that the bad man tied the knot over your pee-pee, or is it that fucking you got approval, like you feel like you need approval from somebody? And if you're all opposed to the fucking other people arbitrarily approving your skill level, then why'd you make it the same colors? You're like, I don't do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu. Why you do a Japanese anything? Like, if you're all fucking like, I do my own artistic expression, call it fucking Joe Smith jiu-jitsu or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, call it your own shit, make your own belts. Like, why'd you give yourself a brown belt? Why didn't you give yourself a fucking pink belt? Why didn't you give yourself a fucking yellow belt and say fuck it? It's like he wants to be able to say he is all these things and get respect. Like, if he literally walked up, if he was like, I'm going to use my own belt system. It goes mauve, periwinkle, fucking lime, and then we finish with red or whatever.
Have you been painting your house recently?
Yes.
Is that how you know that stuff?
Those are all my favorite t-shirt colors.
Oh,
So
okay.
then it's like, if he did that and said, so I'm going to take off this purple belt and I'm going to put on whatever, my mauve belt. Then it's like, well, rad, you just made your own shit, dude. That's badass. You just made your own shit.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He put on a brown belt, and a brown belt's going to carry a certain amount of prestige when he walks into a room. Like, he wants the benefits of the established system while saying fuck the established system. He wants to award his students rank while saying no man should be able to award rank to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, he is so full of shit on so many different levels. And I love his, like, jiu-jitsu's the truth. You'll get found out on these mats. So if I put a brown belt on, you're going to be able to tell the truth of the situation. And you're like, I got you, buddy. Good boy. Thank you.
Sorry to do it.
You're going to be able to, no, I'm talking to you. You're going to be able to, you know, like, you're going to be able to tell the truth. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be able to discern the truth if you put up. But guess what? You're putting up on all these kids that are not as good as you. It's a school filled with people who don't know enough to know that you're full of shit. And you're clearly and obviously full of shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You want to impress me with your little brown belt? Go to a fucking tournament with a brown belt you gave yourself and win that tournament.
Yeah.
Go to another gym and hang with all their brown belts. You know what I mean? Like, don't use that, like, the truth is easy to be discerned in jiu-jitsu. And then roll a bunch of scrubs that you taught. Do you know what I mean? Fuck you,
Imagine
bro.
this scenario. It's kind of crazy.
I know I'm full of shit because I roll in my myopic little school. I'm a great big fish in a teeny tiny little pond. I'm the baddest motherfucker in the room, but it's a tiny room filled with. I get a 16-year-old kid, white belt, 16-year-old, fucking sloppy-haired fuck over here,
Keep going.
and this motherfucker gives me hell.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like I could exist in this little world had I never ventured out of this, had I never gone out in the world. I mean, I put my shit on the line for a long, long time. You know what I mean? But had I not done that, this motherfucker, what tournament has he won? What fight has he done?
Yeah.
He didn't do shit. You know
Well,
what I mean?
It's kind of funny because he did boast about tournaments he's won, but then somebody did some research on it and he was boasting like, yeah, 2000 fucking whatever Chicago Open. Somebody went to the IBJJS page, pulled it. He was the only competitor in that bracket, but he still lists that as like
Oh, what a
champion.
fucking douchebag.
And he did that with a couple other tournaments where it was like 4 guys showed up in the bracket and they don't make third place guys compete or whatever, and he's like, yeah, third place finisher. It's like,
You.
yeah, because you showed up, shithead.
Unbelievable, dude. Like, that's the kind of douchebaggery that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like he wants to play pretend in this world and get respect from a world that is like, you get found the fuck out. So if you're wearing a brown belt, you can't have both. You can't hide in your little bubble and get respect. Doesn't work, man. He's a fucking piece of shit. And then you can tell, just like his whole thing is starting about, like his whole like, my granddad was in fucking war.
He's just trying to.
My great granduncle or some shit was in a war, and it's like good, dude. Good for you. That's wicked cool for him. But what the fuck did you? What the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do? You know what I mean? Like
most people's great
I'm validated by my great grandfather's actions. Like, dude, your great grandfather could be the coolest motherfucker in the world. You're still a douche.
Yeah.
Or he could have been the biggest douche in the world. You could still be cool. Like the actions of your fucking forefathers doesn't have shit to do with who